If you've known me for more than 2 minutes, you know I do talk about posture quite a fair bit. Now, because it is a very important topic and there are quite a few repercussions of not having a good posture, and one of them can be shortness of breath. So, for an executive mom who's balancing your demanding work schedule with family responsibilities, it often means long hours at your desk or slouched over, say, your mobile device or your laptop, even when you are back home, or those long hours of cooking on the weekend because you got to work on the weekdays, etc., etc. So there's a lot of slouching or bending over or a lot of flexor dominant activity that goes on in our everyday life. Now, this habitual posture of slouching can lead to not only neck pain, back pain, and the usual nerve pains that we talk about, that I have been talking about in my videos, but it can also lead to some unexpected symptoms such as shortness of breath. So, in today's video, let's talk about how does poor posture impact your body in such a way that it can cause slouching can cause shortness of breath. So, before we get into the topic for today, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Swati. I'm an executive mom power coach. I help moms of younger kids who work in high stress executive jobs to manage their spinal, that is back and neck, and nerve pain. And I do this by giving you simple exercises, some easy lifestyle modifications, some tips and tricks. And also, I talk about things that have helped me in my own spinal and joint pain journey. And also nerve pain. So, and I do all of this without taking away a big chunk of your time because, hey, we're moms, we're busy people, right? So, let's not take more of your time and let's talk about the topic for today, which is, can slouching cause shortness of the breath? So, basically, what's the impact of poor posture when it comes to breathlessness or shortness of breath? Now, one of the most common postural deviations or poor postures, one of the forms of poor posture that we come across, what I see on an everyday basis, is a forward head posture. So, if you look at me from the side, my earlobe should be somewhat in line. So if I take a pen here, I drop a line here, my earlobe is somewhat in line with my shoulder, the tip of my shoulder. However, if you are so far forward that if you drop a line, it goes well ahead of your shoulder here. Of course, this is one of the very casual ways of knowing if you have a forward head posture. There are many other ways that we can check, but if you have this forward kind of position of your neck, this is known as a forward head posture. And if one second, having some tech issues in Instagram here. All right. So this is a forward head posture. So what happens with this forward head posture? Usually it is very common with people who are working at their desks or they're looking at a screen all the time and you tend to poke your chin out. It can, or if you're glued to your phone most of the time, like, well, adults and teenagers are nowadays, even the elderlies for that matter, it can lead to a lot of jaw, neck, shoulder issues like pains and headaches and dizziness, etc. It can, now what happens is when your head is moved forwards, in order to balance this forward position of the head on your body, your shoulders need to slouch or get rounded. Once you have rounded shoulders, do you see how my upper back, if you can see here, my upper back is also rounded. So there's a lot of slouching and rounded back kind of a position going, or posture going on here. Interestingly, these poor postures can lead to shortness of breath. Now, let's look at it in more details. Now, breathing seems pretty straightforward, right? You breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide, simple. But this mechanics is much more than just the lungs. At the base of your lungs, there is a big muscle known as a diaphragm. So, if you think of, say, something that's mushroom shaped or the shape of a tent, it is sitting, so if these are your lungs here, they're sitting right under your lungs, and this is a main muscle of respiration. Now, it's dome shaped basically. So in your relaxed breathing, this diaphragm is the one that is doing most of the breathing. I think about 70 to 80%, don't quote me on that, but about 80% of the work is done by this muscle. Of course, there are other muscles of respiration as well, but this is like the main player here. So when you're sitting in a slouch posture, what happens is, okay, so just consider the diaphragm. Then let's talk about when you're sitting in a slouch posture, your abdomen is compressed. Okay, try doing this. Sit up straight, breathe, and then sit slouched and breathe. So you will realize that there's a lot of cramping or a lot of closed position around your abdominal area. Now what happens is this limits the capacity of the diaphragm to move up and down. Now it's sitting right under the lungs. When you're breathing out, the diaphragm sort of moves upwards and it pushes all that air out of the lungs. Of course, there are other mechanics, but this is a very simplified version. And then you're breathing in, the diaphragm is moving down, giving some space for the lungs to expand, of course, along with the movement of the ribs, etc. Now, what happens is when you're sitting here compressed, the diaphragm cannot, in this not compressed, sorry, the slouch position, the diaphragm cannot move so freely. So it does affect your lungs' capacity to take in that oxygen and breathe out the carbon dioxide. In other words, it affects the way you are breathing. And of course, that will lead to shortness of breath. Now, because you have a very shallow chest breathing, because you're not able to move the diaphragm very well, you have a lot of chest breathing here. What happens is there's a lot of undue pressure or stress around your upper back, the shoulder, and especially these muscles in the front. Now, when you are breathing in normal everyday, I'm sitting here, I'm breathing and talking to you. These muscles are not being activated; they're pretty quiet. But when I go for a run, or I have to sprint, these muscles are the accessory, as in the secondary, or you can say the extra muscles that come in when you need to do a lot of deep breathing. Because your diaphragm is not working very well, these muscles come into action. Now, these muscles are not meant for constant activity for, well, they're not meant for constant breathing kind of activities, right? So they're the type of muscle fiber that is present here cannot be activated throughout the day. So if you are sitting here all slouched and these are the muscles that are taking the brunt of that, they're taking on the work of that breathing, these muscles will tend to get tightened, and of course they will also get very fatigued. Firstly, they're tightened because of your posture, because they're in a shortened position, and on top of that they are being overworked. So imagine putting somebody in a poor posture and then you're making them work extra, so obviously they're not happy. And so a vicious cycle starts where your posture is like this. You're not breathing well. Because you're not breathing well, you're activating these muscles more than their capacity, and then this leads to pain. The pain again makes you feel like you want to slouch, so there's like a vicious cycle going on here. So what do you do? Well, what you have to do is try and get into a good posture. Getting into a good posture or a neutral posture for your neck and your upper back, and not having those rounded shoulders, is not rocket science. So what I have done is I have made a free guide that tells you how to maintain a good posture while working from home, but it is applicable to even those who are like doing any other activity. It tells you about what your eye level should be, where should everything be placed around your desk, how should your forearms and your hands be placed, what should be the position of your wrist, etc., etc. So this free guide, I will leave a link in the description of this video, and that link will take you to a blog where I have left this free guide, and there's more that I talk about posture and slouching in that blog. So have a look at that, grab the guide, and then see if you can set up your workstation, or if you can just follow that guide for a bit. It will help you with your neck posture, it'll help you with your neck pain. Actually, interestingly, just a little point I want to make before I finish the video. Research in breathing patterns and emotions has revealed that a slump posture can induce feelings of sadness. Interestingly, it can work the other way. So, if you alter your posture and your breathing pattern, you can now actually change your emotional state. So, something to think about. We always knew that slouch postures were associated with depression. Yes, there are studies that have been done for that, but this sadness and feelings of sadness and poor posture correlation, I found that interesting. Anyway, if you have any questions, any comments on this video, do let me know and I'll do my best to answer them for you. And I hope this has been useful. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.